So we have some pretty rough news for Hogwarts Legacy. Some of you might be pretty disappointed. We also have a dev reply, but that's pertaining to the original statement. We do got a lot to talk about. What's up, brothers? Back in another video. Today we're checking out all things Hogwarts Legacy, specifically with this dev talk and things of that nature, and this little dev interview that IGN had. Now, for all my recent videos, we did a deep dive into some of the DLC findings. There's been a bunch of videos out on YouTube as well, people talking about the Quidditch DLC. People were hyped up about that. A lot of people were talking about things that would be fixed with DLC, like maybe nighttime mode, where people would actually go to their beds, and things of that nature, because that's been a lot of the complaints. So people were hoping for a lot of these complaints to be addressed in that DLC. However, we did get some pretty stark news, and some pretty rough news overall from a recent dev interview that IGN had. And just to break it down to you, the dev basically said, we've been really heads down bringing Hogwarts Legacy to life. So at the moment, there are no current plans for DLC. And it is quite weird because of how many files in the game that aren't being used on PC. At least I'm sure they're the same on Xbox and PlayStation. You just can't access those files. There's a lot of NPCs in there. There's a lot of spells that aren't being used. Basically double of what we have now. Some even have fully fledged UI elements and things of that nature, almost basically complete. I know there's even NPC dialogue, I believe that's not even being used. There's other NPC stuff. But it is quite shocking that there is no DLC plans for Hogwarts Legacy in general, just because of how much is there, and I think a lot of the hope, and a lot of a little bit of the copium. Now, this isn't a bad game. It's a pretty decent game. I just think there was a lot of cut corners for really no reason at all. It is quite immersion breaking, but I will say the game overall is actually pretty good. The story is pretty encapsulating. There's a lot of good side quests. There's a lot of good qualities and a lot of redeeming qualities about this game. I don't think, there was a lot of debate on that, if it's bringing anything new to the table. I don't really think the game is bringing anything new to the table per se. So I don't really see anything crazy that is added to it, but there is a lot there. I mean, I've been doing every single side quest. I still haven't beaten the game yet. I'm still playing it every day. I've been doing every single side quest I see. I've been trying to do all my quests and basically almost 100% into my first playthrough. And there is quite a lot there. I'm still in the winter season, and it's been over 10 days since I've had the game. Granted, I've been playing it here on and off and doing my YouTube stuff and other things of that nature, but there is a lot there. So hoping for DLC right away is obviously out of the scope of things. These single-player games do take a long time to make these DLCs come to light. However, I'm just surprised at the amount of things that were in the files. Cyberpunk didn't have this type of... they had a few cut things, but they didn't have this amount of stuff. But we'll go over some of the fan reactions so far, because some people are kind of devastated. Someone did have a good comment here that basically says, they said it's not a hard no about the DLC. Read this specific quote. I already went over it. So this reads to me that Avalanche was very focused on getting Hogwarts Legacy out of the door for PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X, and they don't currently have any set in stone plans for DLC, and that's fine. They wanted to get the game rushed and out the door. Now that it's released, they'll patch what they need to and then decide where to go. If that means no DLC, then there's that, but it's not like Avalanche has outright said no to future content. I do think it's a little bit of copium, but that's okay. Guys, it's always people say, hey, the day one patch is gonna fix this. No, day one patch. Wait for the day one patch, guys. Oh, wait for... No, day one patch. That was the day one patch. Wait for the week patch. Oh, wait for DLC. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I would tame all expectations. I doubt this game gets any DLC for years. And if it does, it probably won't be at the grand scope of what people are hoping for, especially with this next comment. So this next comment wanted to, their DLC envisioning is basically year 6. Quidditch, Mirror People, Triwizard Tournament, sitting and sleeping in common rooms, werewolves and vampires maybe have, not even gonna try to read that word, as a gameplay mechanic like Skyrim, also add more interactive with events like peeves or paintings, ghosts, etc. Morality system. I know people were really disappointed that there wasn't a morality system, and that trying to be evil is kind of harder than you can't outright be evil to people, but they have to take into account it's clear that they were going for a very broad audience for this game. That's kind of why everything is the way it is. If you're asking yourself, well, why didn't they do this? It's more than likely because they're oh, this is we're trying to make this game rated for everybody. This is supposed to be for an everybody game. Which makes sense. I mean, although a lot of the people that watched Harry Potter back in the day when they first came out are now adults, they still want to make it so that children of today can play the game. And they even kind of mentioned that this could be more for work on sequels, which I definitely agree. I doubt that this is going to be any type of DLC for this game at all. In fact, we might get a few new things and maybe a new quest system, new quest givers and stuff like that. these single-player games lately have not been getting the grand scope DLCs like they've been getting before. There's very few exceptions that have. I would say like Outer Worlds is a really good one. That was an amazing single-player game. I really, really enjoyed that story. I really enjoyed the game overall. It had like a very budget-esque type of studio working on it. They didn't have a lot of money or a lot of time. And I think they made the game in like 2 or 3 years, and it was actually a really, really good single-player game. But the DLC for that game was also really good, and they were enjoyable, and they were decently long stories for each of those DLCs. I think there was 2. Someone did also mention here that the other console versions aren't out yet, and so announcing DLC would be kind of weird. Yeah, I mean, at this point, if they did anything like that, or if they announced something, it would be like, oh, why is there DLC already? And you gotta take into account they probably can't really say anything at the moment for it, but it would have been reassuring for, I think, for a lot of fans that said we do future plan to work on DLC. You know, if they say they don't plan for DLC at all, it's kind of a it's a bit of a stark contrast to everything, because they could still say that they're working on DLC in the future or plans for it. Having no plans at all is not a very good sign, because they don't even have the board writing. I mean, the first 2 years of game development are usually doing all like the story write-ups and the board drawings and all that stuff. They aren't even like really doing anything in an engine. At least if you're looking at like a 6-year project like this one, I'm sure the first year or 2 is just working on those like storyboards and getting everything right before they even started to work on game assets and all that stuff. And we have a few other comments here that say not a hard no, or not no in general, or not no overall. And yeah, but still, I don't think, if they don't plan for DLC, that's just not a good sign. At least in my opinion. Now, I do hope they fix the PC, because the PC is still having issues. My game has run a lot better since the patch. However, I'm still getting that frequent stutters, and I don't know how to fix it. I've done pretty much everything to get rid of those stutters, and I just can't. Another person pointed out that no worry, the game is just out. Talking about DLC now would imply the devs are agreeing that the game is not totally finished, not really good in terms of marketing. DLC will come in time. And I do agree, but still saying that they could plan for it, I think would be the more beneficial approach to that. Saying they're not planning for it at all, it's not like they're not working on it, right? They didn't say like, oh, we're not working on it at the moment. They don't even plan for it. That's a little much. However, someone did mention that the devs for Ghost of Tsushima said the exact same thing, and so they definitely could release DLC even if they didn't plan for it at the moment. But this one could go either way on that note. It could go that they just don't want to say anything for marketing purposes, or they honestly don't have anything planned and it was cut content. Although, again, like I said, all that cut content there doesn't really make sense if they don't have anything planned. So maybe they do. Keep your hopes up. Or don't. But anyways, if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe, and until the next one. Deuces.